I woke up and realized I had become the spineless pushover CEO in a novel. The moment I opened my eyes, I saw Caleb Reed, the quintessential pretty boy manipulator, fake a fall and accuse me of pushing him. My fiancée, Elena Vance, immediately rushed over, pointing her finger right at my face. Julian Sterling, how dare you hurt Caleb? I looked at this pair of bad actors, and I laughed. Without hesitation, I slapped Elena hard across the face. Then, I lifted my foot and kicked Caleb straight down the stairs. You like acting? I loosened my tie and waved to the stunned bodyguards. Throw this trash out, and tell everyone outside. From today on, anyone who dares bring garbage into my sight will join it in the dumpster. I had transmigrated into the body of Julian Sterling, the CEO of a top-tier dynasty, the Sterling Group. The second I opened my eyes, I had seen Caleb, that fragile white lotus, let out a theatrical gasp and stumbled backward toward the staircase, his hand gripping my sleeve just long enough to frame me. Elena screamed on cue, "Julian, you dared to push Caleb." Her voice was shrill, like nails on a chalkboard. I stood frozen, my brain buzzing. Before me lay a spiral staircase, a crystal chandelier, and expensive marble floors. Caleb was sprawled on the third step down, clutching his chest, eyes rimmed red, looking for all the world like a victim of brutal bullying. Elena rushed to help him up, then turned to glare at me, her eyes like daggers. "Julian Sterling, you gone too far. You know Caleb has a weak constitution. How would you push him? Apologize. Now." I looked at her. I looked at that beautiful face written all over with stupidity. Memories flooded in like a tide. Julian Sterling, sole heir to the Sterling Empire, but also a complete doormat. He had spent 3 years groveling at this woman's feet. He gave her mansions, yachts, company shares. Whatever she wanted, he gave. Whatever she said, he believed. She had a male best friend, Caleb Reed, a man who cried more than any woman and manipulated people better than any high school mean girl. When the original Julian disliked him, Elena would say, "Julian, why are you so petty? Caleb is just like a brother to me." When Julian wouldn't let Caleb into the company, Elena went on a hunger strike. When Julian discovered Caleb embezzling funds, Elena cried, "You must have had a reason. You're not allowed to pursue this. If you do, I'll jump from this window." The original Julian actually let it slide. He even paid out of pocket to fill the financial hole. Because Elena said, "Julian, if you dare touch Caleb, I will never forgive you." The original host believed her. Like a fool, he was played by this pair of grifters. He was drained of his money, hollowed out of his resources, and treated as a joke in high society for 3 years. In the book's original ending, the Sterling Group went bankrupt and Julian jumped off a building. Elena and Caleb took the last of the money and flew off into the sunset together. Recalling this, I laughed. It was a cold, bitter laugh. "Julian, what are you laughing at?" Elena stood up, pointing at my nose again. "I told you to apologize. Are you deaf?" She walked up to me, chin raised, acting like a queen. "Right now, immediately, apologize to Caleb. Then, give your car keys to him. His car is in the shop, so you're driving him to and from work for the next few days. Also, Caleb likes that apartment in the West Loop. Transfer the deed to him tomorrow." She finished and waited. Waited for me to nod and bow like I used to, saying, "Okay." Waited for me to say humbly, "Elena, don't be mad. I'll do whatever you say." Waited for me to be a fool. I didn't move. I just looked at her. "Are you done?" "Elena pulled." "What? What did you say?" "I asked you." I said, enunciating every word. "Are you done?" Her expression changed. "Julian, what is this attitude? I'm telling you, if you don't do what I say today, I will." She didn't finish. I raised my hand. A slap landed hard on her face. Smack. The sound was crisp and loud, echoing through the villa. Elena's head snapped to the side. She clutched her cheek, eyes wide, staring at me in disbelief. You dare hit me?" "Why wouldn't I?" I shook my hand out. "That slap was for your blindness. 3 years of being willfully blind deserves a wake-up call." Elena was stunned. Caleb was stunned too. He sat on the floor, forgetting to fake his tears, staring at me blankly. The servants kept their heads down, but their shoulders were shaking. I couldn't tell if they were terrified or holding back laughter. "Julian, you're crazy." Elena recovered, screaming as she lunged at me. "I'll kill you." I sidestepped. She hit empty air and nearly fell over. "Security," I said. 2 men in black suits immediately stepped out from the shadows of the staircase. "Mr. Sterling, watch her." "Yes, sir." The bodyguards flanked Elena, pinning her by the shoulders. She struggled, but couldn't break free. "Let go of me." "You let go." "Julian, Tell them to let me go. I ignored her and walked toward Caleb. He was sitting on the stairs, panic rising in his eyes as I approached. Julian, bro, what are you doing? I didn't speak. I walked right up to him. I lifted my leg, aimed at his chest, and kicked down hard. Thud. Caleb screamed as he tumbled down the stairs like a sack of potatoes. Bang, bang, bang. A series of heavy impacts followed. He rolled to the landing, crashing into the banister before stopping. He clutched his left leg, wailing, my leg is broken. His voice was shrill. I walked down slowly. I stopped in front of him and crouched. Does it hurt? Caleb's face was pale, covered in cold sweat. He nodded frantically. It hurts. Julian, get me to a hospital. Please. Good. It should hurt. I look him in the eye. That kick was to teach you what a real push feels like. If you want to act, find a professional production studio. Don't pull these cheap stunts in front of me. Caleb stared at me like I was a monster. I stood up, dusting non-existent dirt off my trousers. I turned and walked back up the stairs. Elena was still struggling, still cursing. Julian, you're not human. How could you hurt Caleb like that? I'm calling the cops. I'm sending you to jail. I walked up to her. I looked at her with ice-cold eyes. Call the cops. I smiled. Go ahead. Do you need me to dial 911 for you? While you're at it, tell the officers exactly how much company money your dear little brother has embezzled from the Sterling Group over the last 3 years. Who do you think goes to prison first? Him or me? Elena's face instantly drained of color. Her lips trembled, but no words came out. I turned and waved to the bodyguards. Throw this trash out. And from today on, if anyone dares to let them through the gates. I paused, sweeping a glance over the servants who were bowing their heads. They can pack their bags and leave too. The bodyguards nodded, each grabbing one. They hauled Elena and Caleb toward the door. Elena finally snapped out of it and started sobbing. Julian, you can't do this to me. I'm your fiancé. We're getting married next month. The engagement is off, I said. Now, immediately, permanently. No, you can't cancel it. Julian, did you forget how hard you chased me? Did you forget you promised to love me forever? Forgot, I said, turning my back and walking upstairs. Who remembers the ramblings of an idiot? Throw them out. If they keep making noise, gag them. The bodyguards picked up the pace. Elena's crying and Caleb's wailing grew distant until they finally vanished outside the door. The villa returned to silence. I stood at the top of the stairs, looking down at the empty grand hall. The light from the crystal chandelier hit the marble, blindingly bright. I smirked. Transmigrated into a simp CEO? Not bad. Starting today, I'm going to teach these people what a real person in power looks like. 1 week later, Monday, 9:00 a.m. The lobby of Sterling Group headquarters, Chicago. I sat in the top floor office, watching the surveillance monitors. The lobby was chaotic. Caleb's parents were there. Caleb's father, Frank Reed, wore an ill-fitting, cheap suit, his hair greased back. Caleb's mother, Martha, wore a gaudy floral dress and held a large cardboard sign with a photo of Caleb lying in a hospital bed pasted on it. His leg was in a cast, his face pale, his expression pathetic. The sign read in bold red letters, Sterling CEO, Julian Sterling, assault and battery, bullying the poor, justice for my son. They were surrounded by 5 or 6 reporters, cameras and microphones thrust in their faces. Martha wailed to the cameras, my son is suffering so much. Kicked down the stairs by Julian Sterling. His leg is broken. The doctor said he's bedridden for 3 months. He might have a permanent limp. Julian Sterling has money and power, so he thinks he can crush regular people like us. Frank stood beside her, playing the role of the outrageously wronged, honest man. We don't want money. We just want justice. We want Julian Sterling to come out and apologize publicly. If he doesn't, we'll come here every day. Let the whole country see what kind of man runs the Sterling Group. The receptionist tried to intervene, but was shoved aside by Martha. Security guards formed a perimeter, but didn't engage. I had given orders, wait. I turned off the monitor and hit the intercom. What's the status? The voice of my assistant came through, clearly. 5 media outlets present. 3 were paid off by the Reed family. 2 are just chasing the drama. Should we clear the room? No. I stood up, adjusting my cufflinks. Let them film. Make sure they get a clear shot. Going down. The elevator numbers ticked down. 58, 57, 56. When I stepped out of the elevator, my assistant, Marcus, immediately approached, holding a black file folder. Mr. Sterling, the documents are ready. Frank Reed's company, Crestview Construction, used 7 fraudulent contracts over the past 2 years to scam your subsidiary, Sterling Development. out of $2 million in advance payments. The wire transfers, forged seal comparisons, and employee testimonies are all here. And the mother? Over the past year, she has requested 12 transfers from your personal account under the guise of Caleb's medical bills, nutrition fees, and emotional distress, totaling $150,000. Actuel usage. Marcus paused. Shopping, luxury travel, gambling. We pulled the credit card statements. The elevator reached the ground floor. Ding. The doors opened. I walked out. The lobby went instantly silent. All eyes turned to me. The reporters' cameras swiveled in unison. Seeing me, Martha's wailing reached a new pitch. Julian Sterling. Give me back my son. You give me back my son. She tried to rush me with her sign, but was blocked by security. Frank pointed at me, shouting to the cameras, "Look, everyone, this is the CEO of Sterling Group. He breaks my son's leg and doesn't even dare to show his face." Now, he finally comes out. I walked up to them, stopped, looked them over. Done crying? I asked. Martha froze. What? What did you say? I ask you. I raised my voice. Are you done crying? Frank's face turned red. Julian, what is this attitude? My son is lying in a hospital. You have to give us an explanation today. An explanation? I laughed. Fine, I'll give you one. I turned to the head of security. Please escort these two victims' families to conference room 1. If the press is interested, they can follow. But filming only. No questions. Security stepped forward, escorting Frank and Martha from both sides. It looked like support, but it was a firm grip. They tried to struggle, but couldn't break free. Half dragged, half invited, they were taken into the adjacent glass-walled conference room. The reporters swarmed in after them. The conference room doors closed. The soundproofing was excellent. The noise from the lobby vanished. Frank and Martha were pressed into chairs. Tears still stained their faces, but a gleam of triumph appeared in their eyes. They thought I was caving. They thought I wanted to settle. The reporters set up their tripods, lenses trained on me. I took the seat at the head of the table. Marcus stood beside me and opened the folder. Julian, what do you want? Frank spoke first, his tone hardening. I'm telling you, with all these reporters here, you have to apologize. You have to pay damages. Right. Martha wiped away a non-existent tear. Medical bills, lost wages, emotional damage. At least $5 million. $5 million. I raised an eyebrow. Too little? Then $8 million. Frank immediately hiked the price. And a public apology in the newspaper for a whole week. I nodded and looked at Marcus. Show them. Marcus pulled the first document from the folder, walked over to Frank, and handed it to him. Mr. Frank read, these are the 7 procurement contracts your company, Crestview Construction, signed with Sterling Development over the past 2 years. Total contract value, $3 million. Advance payments paid by Sterling, $2 million. Frank took the papers, his hands starting to shake. So what? Normal business. Normal. Marcus pulled out a few more sheets. These are the bank records. Within 3 days of the $2 million entering Crestview's accounts, it was split into 7 transfers to your personal account, your wife's account, and your son's account. This is the warehouse inventory record for Sterling Development. The actual materials delivered amount to less than 10% of the contract. And this is the forensic report on the stamps. The Sterling Development corporate seals on all 7 contracts were forgeries. With every sentence Marcus spoke, Frank's face grew paler. By the end, the papers slipped from his fingers and scattered on the floor. His lips trembled, wordless. The reporter's cameras immediately swung toward him. Mr. Reed, is the assistant telling the truth? Are you involved in contract fraud? Did you know forging corporate seals is a felony? Frank waved his hands frantically. No, I didn't. Julian is framing me. I ignored him and looked at Martha. Mrs. Martha Reed. Marcus pulled out another stack of documents. In the past year, you demanded 12 transfers from Mr. Sterling's personal account, claiming your son Caleb was in critical condition, totaling $150,000. These are the transfer records, and these are your spending records for the past year. Marcus spread the documents out in front of Martha. It was a dense list. Nordstrom, luxury counters, $20,000 spent. Sunshine Travel Agency, European Couples Tour, $15,000. Lucky by Casino, Puja, Kumlati Bonmui Kong. According to the timestamps, Marcus said calmly, 9 of these transactions occurred during the exact weeks you claimed Caleb was hospitalized and in desperate need of money. Martha's face went instantly white. She shot up from her chair. You investigated me? You invaded my privacy. Invaded your privacy? I laughed. Does your son embezzling $500,000 in company funds count as invading Sterling Group's property? Martha froze. What? What funds? I don't know. You don't know? I pressed the speakerphone button on the conference table. Are legal and the police here yet? A voice responded instantly. Mr. Sterling, 3 attorneys from legal are outside. The officers from the Economic Crimes Unit just arrived downstairs. Send them in. The doors opened. 3 attorneys in sharp suits walked in carrying thick binders. Behind them, 2 uniformed police officers entered, their expressions stern. The room went dead silent. The camera flashes went wild. Frank and Martha collapsed into their chairs, shaking uncontrollably. Mr. Sterling. Frank tried to stand, but his legs were jelly. Misunderstanding. It's all a misunderstanding. We can settle this privately. The money. We'll pay it back. All of it. $2 million plus $150,000. That's $2. $15 million, I said, looking at them. You're paying it back now? Frank opened his mouth. Pay it back? With what money? That $2 million had long since been lost at the gambling tables. Looks like you can't. I stood up and looked at the officers. Officers, we have 2 suspects here involved in commercial fraud and grand larceny. The amounts are substantial, and the evidence is solid. I handed the folder Marcus was holding to the police. This is the complete evidentiary package. Sterling Group's legal department will fully cooperate with the investigation. The officer took the folder, flipped through it, and nodded. He walked over to Frank and Martha. Frank Reed. Martha Reed, please come with us. Martha let out a wail. I'm not going. I'm the victim. My son's leg is broken. You should arrest Julian. Frank tried to struggle. Officers, Julian is framing us. He's rich and powerful. You can't believe him. The officer remained expressionless. Whether it's a frame-up or not, the investigation will determine. Now, please cooperate. Handcuffs came out. Click, click. The metal locked around Frank and Martha's wrists. The cameras zoomed in on the handcuffs. On their gray, defeated faces. On the photo of Caleb, they were still clutching. I walked up to Frank. I leaned in and whispered in his ear, so only he could hear. Tell your son something for me. Accomplices to fraud go to prison too. The 3 of you will be reunited in a cell block very soon. Frank's eyes went wide, pupils trembling with terror. He wanted to speak, but the officers were already hauling him up and leading him out. Martha was dragged out screaming. Her voice was shrill, fading down the hallway. In the conference room, only the reporters and I remained. I turned to face the cameras and smiled. Apologies for the scene, everyone. The Sterling Group has always operated within the law. Regarding any illegal activities, whether by outsiders or internal staff, we will cooperate fully with the authorities to the very end. That concludes the interview today. Marcus, show them out. I turned and walked out of the conference room. Behind me, the shutters were still clicking like mad. But nobody cared if Caleb's leg was broken anymore. They cared about tomorrow's headline. Family who tried to extort billionaire arrested for fraud. That afternoon, the hospital. Caleb lay in bed, scrolling through his phone. The screen showed his parents in handcuffs being led out of Sterling Tower. The photos were high definition. He could see everything clearly. The phone slipped from his hand and hit the floor. Screen cracked. He stared at the ceiling, his eyes hollow. The hospital room door pushed open. 2 officers walked in. Caleb Reed, you're suspected of conspiracy to commit contract fraud with Frank and Martha Reed. We're taking you in for questioning. Please cooperate. Caleb didn't move. He just muttered to himself. Reunited? Really? Reunited. 1 month later, West Loop, the Apex Club. The top-floor private suite featured floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the entire Chicago skyline at night. The room smelled of expensive sandalwood. The tea set was antique porcelain, and the art on the walls was likely priceless. When I pushed open the door, 3 people were already seated. Robert Vance, Catherine Vance, and Elena. And a stranger, a man in his 50s wearing a silk shirt, rolling 2 walnuts in his hand, smiling like a benevolent Buddha. Julian is here. Robert stood up, a plastered smile on his face. Seat. Psst. I didn't move. I stood at the door, watching them. Elena was wearing a modest white dress today. Light makeup, hair draped softly over her shoulders. She looked down, playing the part of the fragile flower perfectly. Seeing me look at her, she lifted her head, her eyes instantly reddening. Julian, her voice choked up. You finally agreed to see me. Catherine quickly pulled her down to sit, patted her hand, and turned to me with an ingratiating smile. Julian, come sit. We're all family here. Let's talk this out. I walked into the room and sat on the single sofa opposite them. Marcus followed me in, closed the door, and stood behind me, holding a tablet and a black folder. Family, I laughed. Robert, did you forget that a month ago, I threw your daughter and her good brother out of my house? Robert's face stiffened, but he adjusted quickly. Young people, you're impulsive. We understand. He poured me tea and pushed it across the table. Julian, we asked you here today to clear the air. Look, you and Elena have been engaged for 3 years. Your relationship was always good. It was that Caleb Reed driving a wedge between you. Robert feigned outrage. That kid, I never liked him. Always hanging around Elena with bad intentions. Elena is just too innocent. She got tricked by him. He looked at Elena. Elena immediately nodded, tears falling. Julian, I really know I was wrong. Caleb lied to me. He said you didn't care about me. He said you had someone else. That's why Her shoulders shook with sobs. I know now who really treats me well. Julian, let's make up, okay? I'll listen to you from now on. I won't associate with those trashy people anymore. I picked up the teacup and took a sip. Didn't say a word. Seeing this, Robert thought my resolve was weakening and immediately upped the ante. Julian, look how sincere Elena is. Just forgive her this once. How about this? You apologize to Caleb's family, pay a little settlement, and we put this behind us. And then, I asked. Then, Robert's eyes lit up. That development project in the East District is going up for bid soon, isn't it? Mr. Thorne here is very interested in that land. He gestured to the man rolling the walnuts. This is Victor Thorne, chairman of Thorne Enterprises. He's also Elena's godfather. Victor finally spoke, his voice deep and resonant. Nephew Sterling, I used to drink tea with your father back in the day. Young men have tempers. It's normal. But you have to leave yourself an exit strategy. He slowly rotated the walnuts in his palm. The business with the Reed kid is getting messy. The internet chatter isn't good for your image or Sterling Group stock. Here's the deal. Give me face. Let Thorne Enterprises take the East District project. I'll handle the media for you. Guarantee nobody mentions the assault again. He paused, looking at me. Harmony brings wealth. Don't you agree? The room went quiet. Everyone looked at me, waiting for me to nod, waiting for me to compromise, back down, and submit like I always used to. I put down the teacup and smiled. Are you done? I asked. Robert blinked. Julian, if you're done, it's my turn. I raised my hand. Marcus handed me the tablet. I unlocked it, opened a video file, and turned the screen to face them. The screen lit up. The footage was grainy, a hotel hallway security camera. Timestamp, 3 months ago, 11:47 p.m. In the video, Elena, wearing a revealing slip dress, was holding a man's arm as they walked into a hotel room. That man was the one currently sitting in this suite, rolling walnuts, Victor Thorne. The door closed. The video ended. The silence in the suite was deathly. Elena's face went paper white. She opened her mouth to speak, but no sound came out. Robert and Catherine stared wide-eyed at the screen, then at Elena, then at Victor. The walnuts in Victor's hand stopped moving. The benevolent smile on his face slowly petrified. This is fake. Elena shot up, her voice screeching. Julian, you faked this video. You're trying to smear me. Fake. I tapped the next file. Hotel, registry records. ID numbers, names, check-in times. Crystal clear. Elena Vance. Victor Thorne. Same room. Do you need me to call the hotel manager in here to confirm? I asked. Elena collapsed back into her chair, shaking violently. Robert whipped his head around to look at Victor, eyes burning with rage. Victor, you and Elena. Victor's face was dark. Bob, now isn't the time for this. He looked at me, his gaze turning cold. Nephew Sterling, there's no need to air private laundry like this, is there? No need. I laughed. All right, let's talk about something that is needed. Marcus opened the black folder. He pulled out the first document and placed it in front of Robert. Mr. Vance, this is the tax audit report for Vance Holdings over the past 5 years. The sections highlighted in red are the amounts where you used your partnership with Sterling Group to fabricate costs and shift profits. Cumulative tax evasion. Robert looked down. The red numbers on the document were shocking. $57 million. His hand jerked, and the paper fell onto the table. This is slander. We run a legal business. Legal. Marcus pulled out more papers. These are the government subsidy grants you obtained through Sterling channels. By law, these funds are earmarked for specific use. But according to the money trail, $43 million flowed into your personal accounts and offshore accounts held by your wife and daughter. These are the bank transfers. These are the falsified project completion reports. These are the testimonies from your accountants. Cold sweat broke out on Robert's forehead. He tried to wipe it, but his hand was shaking too hard. Catherine was catatonic, staring at the files, lips trembling. Victor sat up straight, his eyes wary. I didn't look at him. I continued. Marcus pulled out the second dossier and placed it in front of Victor. Mr. Thorne, this is a ledger of bribes Thorne Enterprises has paid to 7 government officials over the past 3 years. Dates, locations, amounts, bagmen, and the offshore accounts of the officials' relatives. It's all here. Victor's expression completely collapsed. He stared at the document like it was a venomous snake. The walnuts dropped from his hand, clack, and rolled into the corner. Julian Sterling. His voice was raspy. You investigated me? Just in passing, I said. After all, since you wanted to stick your hand into my family's projects, I needed to know what kind of partner I was dealing with, right? Victor stood up abruptly. Do you know what will happen if this gets out? Edo. I stood up as well, looking down at him. That's why I didn't plan on leaking it. He paused, confused. I handed it directly to the FBI and the IRS, I said. I pressed the call button on the table. You can send the agents in now. The suite doors pushed open. 6 people walked in. 4 wearing generic suits with badges on their belts. 2 in windbreakers. Expressions serious, eyes sharp. Robert saw them and his legs gave out. He nearly slid under the table. Victor took a step back, bumping into the coffee table, knocking over the tea and soaking his pants. Elena watched blankly, like her soul had left her body. Robert Vance, an agent, stepped forward. Based on whistleblower evidence, you are suspected of tax evasion and wire fraud. The amounts are substantial. Please come with us. Robert opened his mouth, but no words came. 2 agents stepped up, lifting him by the arms. Victor Thorne, another agent, walked up to the older man. You are under arrest for bribery and racketeering. Come with us. Victor's face was gray. He wanted to argue, but in the end, he just hung his head. He was let out. Only Elena and Catherine remained. Catherine burst into tears, grabbing Elena's hand. What do we do? Your dad's been arrested. What do we do? Elena ignored her. She lifted her head and looked at me. Her eyes were empty, numb. Julian, her voice was light as a feather. You planned this all along, didn't you? Since when? Since the first time I made my move against you. Conspiracy to commit bribery. You acted as the broker to get the Vance family kickbacks from Victor. I looked at her. Elena, with all the charges stacked, that's enough for you to sit in a cell for a few years. Elena Loged. It was uglier than crying. A few years. A few years. She muttered. Then, she suddenly grabbed a teacup from the table and hurled it at me. Marcus stepped forward and blocked it. The cup shattered on the floor. Julian, I hate you. I hate you. She screamed, trying to lunge at me. But the door opened again. 2 female officers walked in. Elena Vance, you are suspected of fraud and facilitating bribery. We are taking you into custody. Please cooperate. Elena didn't move. She just stared at me with pure venom. The officer stepped forward and cuffed her. Click. The sound was sharp. As Elena was let out, she stopped when she passed me. She leaned in, whispering so only I could hear, Julian, you will regret this. I smiled. Regret. The only thing I regret is being blind enough to let trash like you stay in my life for so long. Her eyes went wide. Then she was pulled away. Catherine ran after them, wailing, Elena, my daughter, let her go. Her voice faded down the hall. The suite finally fell silent. I walked to the floor-to-ceiling window and looked out. The lights of Chicago burned bright, an ocean that never slept. Marcus stood behind me and spoke quietly. Mr. Sterling, the media package is ready. The headline is High Society Wedding Turns to Prison Sentence. Vance Family Tax Scandal and Bribery Ring Exposed. It goes live across all platforms at 7 a.m. tomorrow. I nodded. Make it clean. Yes, sir. 3 months later, the gavels fell on all the cases. Caleb's family of 3, fraud convicted. Frank was the mastermind. Due to the massive sum, he got 12 years. Martha was an accessory. She got 5. Caleb, for conspiracy and a previous embezzlement, got 8 years. The family was truly reunited in the system. The Vance family went down for tax evasion. Robert was the corporate officer, 10 years, plus a $2 million fine. Vance Holdings filed for bankruptcy liquidation to pay debts. Catherine wasn't involved in operations, but she was nailed for asset concealment and money laundering. 3 years for years probation. She was evicted from the villa and moved into a grim apartment in the suburbs. Victor Thorne, bribery and RICO charges. He dragged 7 city officials down with him. He got the heaviest sentence, 15 years, forfeiture of all illegal assets. Thorne Enterprises collapsed overnight. As for Elena, felony fraud, facilitating bribery. The The judge ran the sentences consecutively. 11 years. Marcus went to the sentencing. He told me Elena was quiet in the courtroom. Didn't cry, didn't scream, just looked down at her handcuffs, like she had finally accepted her fate. I also cleaned house at Sterling Group. In 1 week, I fired 3 executives and 5 middle managers. All of them had ties to the Van Cess or Thorne. Either they took kickbacks or funneled projects. I put the evidence on their desks and let them resign. No one dared to make a scene. The stock didn't drop, it surged. Financial analysts wrote, Sterling Group cleans house, trims the fat. Future looks bullish. I controlled the public narrative the entire time. From the arrest of Caleb's family, to the Vance tax evasion, to Thorne's bribery, to Elena's sentencing. At every step, I fed the media a slice of the truth. Carefully edited truth. Like the ledgers of Caleb's embezzlement. Like the photos of Elena and Victor at the hotel. Like the details of the Van Cess tax fraud. Public opinion was entirely one-sided. Julian Sterling is a boss. About time someone took out the trash. King behavior. Anti-manipulation icon. My reputation hit its peak. The people in my circle who used to call me a doormat now treated me with extreme deference. Mr. Sterling, young and talented. Mr. Sterling, brilliant maneuvers. Julian, let us the lunch sometime. I smiled and nodded. I knew the truth. They didn't respect me. They feared the knife in my hand. And the strength, I had to use it. The dust had settled. My office was quiet. I looked out the window. The city was the same city, but something was forever different. Story complete.